sun was high in the sky, casting a golden glow over the sleek glass building that housed one of the most prestigious tech companies in the city. Inside, the hum of keyboards and the occasional burst of laughter filled the air. The employees of Novatech were busy, as always, chasing deadlines and dreaming of promotions. But today, something was different. Today, the story of one woman would change everything. Her name was Clara. She was the cleaning lady, the one who moved silently through the halls, emptying trash bins and wiping down surfaces. To most, she was invisible, just another part of the background. They barely noticed her, except to occasionally crack a joke or make a snide remark. "Hey, Clara, you missed a spot," someone would call out, followed by a chorus of laughter. Clara would smile politely and keep working, her eyes sharp and her mind sharper. Clara had been with Novatech for over a decade. She had seen CEOs come and go, watched as the company soared to new heights and stumbled through scandals. She knew every corner of the building, every secret whispered in the break room, and every flaw in the company's shiny facade. But no one ever thought to ask her opinion. After all, what could a cleaning lady possibly know about running a multi-billion-dollar tech empire? One Tuesday morning, the office was abuzz with excitement. The board of directors had called an emergency meeting. Rumors were flying. Something about a massive data breach, plummeting stock prices, and the CEO's sudden resignation. The employees were nervous, unsure of what the future held. Clara, however, moved through the chaos with her usual calm demeanor, her cart stocked with cleaning supplies. As she passed the conference room, she overheard snippets of the heated discussion inside. "We're losing investor confidence," one board member shouted. "We need a leader who can turn this around. Someone who understands this company inside and out," another added. Clara paused for a moment, her hand resting on the door handle. Then, without hesitation, she pushed the door open and stepped inside. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to her. "Can we help you, Clara?" the interim CEO asked, his tone dripping with condescension. Clara straightened her back and met his gaze. "Actually," she said, her voice steady and confident, "I think I can help you." The board members exchanged incredulous looks. "And how exactly do you plan to do that?" one of them asked, barely suppressing a smirk. Clara walked to the head of the table and placed a worn notebook in front of her. "This," she said, "contains everything you need to know about this company. Its strengths, its weaknesses, and the solutions to the problems you're facing." The room erupted in laughter. "You expect us to believe that a cleaning lady has the answers?" someone scoffed. Clara didn't flinch. She opened the notebook and began to speak. She talked about inefficiencies in the supply chain, overlooked opportunities in emerging markets, and the toxic culture that had driven away top talent. She cited specific examples, backed by data she had gathered over the years. The laughter died down, replaced by stunned silence. By the time she finished, the board members were leaning forward in their seats, hanging on her every word. "How do you know all this?" the interim CEO asked, his voice trembling. Clara smiled. "I've been here longer than any of you. I've seen what works and what doesn't. And I care about this company more than anyone realizes." The board convened in private, and when they emerged, they made an announcement that sent shockwaves through the office. Clara was appointed the new CEO of Novatech. The employees were in disbelief. How could this be happening? But as the days turned into weeks, they began to see the changes. Clara's leadership was firm but fair. She implemented the ideas from her notebook, and the company started to recover. Stock prices rose, morale improved, and Novatech regained its place as an industry leader. The employees who had once laughed at Clara now respected her. They realized that greatness can come from the most unexpected places. And Clara, with her quiet strength and unwavering determination, proved that it's not the title that defines a leader. It's the vision and the courage to make it a reality. As she stood in her office one evening, looking out over the city skyline, Clara allowed herself a small smile. She had always known she was meant for more than just cleaning. And now the world knew it too. Clara's first week as CEO was a whirlwind. The media had caught wind of the story, and headlines like, "From mop to top, cleaning lady takes over tech giant," were everywhere. Reporters camped outside Novatech's headquarters, demanding interviews. Clara, however, refused to be distracted. She had a company to save. Her first order of business was to address the data breach that had nearly crippled the company. She called an all-hands meeting in the main auditorium. Employees filed in, murmuring nervously. Many were skeptical. How could someone who had spent years cleaning their offices possibly understand the complexities of cybersecurity? Clara stepped onto the stage, dressed not in her usual uniform but in a sharp, tailored suit. The room fell silent. "I know what you're thinking," she began, her voice calm but commanding. "You're wondering how someone like me could possibly lead this company. But let me ask you this. Who knows the ins and outs of this building better than I do? Who notices the cracks in the foundation, the leaks in the system, the things everyone else overlooks?" She paused, letting her words sink in. "The data breach happened because we became complacent. We thought we were untouchable. But no system is perfect, and no company is immune to failure. What matters is how we respond. And I intend to respond by making Novatech stronger than ever." Clara unveiled her plan. She had already assembled a task force of the company's brightest minds, including several junior employees who had been overlooked for promotions. "Talent isn't about titles," she said. "It's about passion, creativity, and the willingness to do what's necessary. These are the people who will help us rebuild." Over the next few weeks, Clara worked tirelessly. She spent long nights in the office, reviewing reports, meeting with department heads, and even personally reaching out to investors to reassure them. Her hands-on approach was a stark contrast to the aloof leadership of her predecessors. Employees began to notice the change. Clara didn't just give orders. She listened. She asked for input, encouraged collaboration, and wasn't afraid to roll up her sleeves and get her hands dirty. One afternoon, Clara walked into the IT department, where the task force was working on patching the vulnerabilities that had led to the breach. She pulled up a chair beside Marcus, a young programmer who had been with the company for less than a year. "Talk me through what you're doing," she said. Marcus hesitated, surprised that the CEO would take an interest in his work. But Clara's genuine curiosity put him at ease. As he explained the intricacies of the code, Clara nodded, asking thoughtful questions. By the end of the conversation, Marcus felt a renewed sense of purpose. He wasn't just a cog in the machine, he was part of something bigger. Clara's leadership style wasn't without its challenges. Some of the senior executives, accustomed to the old ways of doing things, resisted her changes. One particularly vocal critic was David Hartman, the head of finance. He had been with Novatech for over 20 years and had expected to be named interim CEO. When Clara was appointed instead, he was furious. During a strategy meeting, David openly challenged Clara's decisions. "This is reckless," he said, slamming his hand on the table. "You're throwing money at problems without a clear plan. We need stability, not chaos." Clara remained calm. "David, I understand your concerns, but stability won't save us. Innovation will. And innovation requires taking risks." She turned to the rest of the room. "I'm not asking anyone to blindly follow me. I'm asking you to trust the process. If you have better ideas, I want to hear them. But we can't afford to stand still." David stormed out of the meeting, but Clara didn't let it derail her. She knew that change was never easy, especially for those who had grown comfortable with the status quo. Later that day, she invited David to her office. The tension was palpable as he sat across from her, arms crossed. "David," Clara began, "I know you care about this company. So do I. But we're at a crossroads. We can either cling to the past or embrace the future. I need you on my team. Not as an adversary, but as a partner." David hesitated. He had expected a confrontation, not an olive branch. Slowly, he uncrossed his arms. "You really think you can turn this around?" he asked. "I don't just think it," Clara replied. "I know it, but I can't do it alone. I need your expertise, your experience. Will you help me?" David studied her for a moment, then nodded. "All right, I'm in." As the weeks turned into months, Novatech began to transform. The data breach was contained, and new security measures were put in place. Clara's emphasis on innovation led to the development of groundbreaking products that put Novatech back on the map. Investors returned, and the company's stock soared. But Clara's greatest achievement wasn't the financial turnaround. It was the culture she fostered. Employees felt valued and empowered. They no longer saw their roles as just jobs, but as opportunities to make a difference. And Clara, the woman who had once been invisible, became a symbol of hope and resilience. One evening, as Clara was preparing to leave the office, she noticed a group of employees gathered in the break room. They were laughing and chatting, their camaraderie a stark contrast to the tense, competitive atmosphere of the past. Clara smiled to herself. This was the Novatech she had always believed in, a place where people could thrive no matter where they started. As she stepped out into the cool night air, Clara took a deep breath. The journey had been long and difficult, but it was far from over. She had proven that leadership isn't about titles or status. It's about vision, determination, and the courage to challenge the status quo. And as she looked up at the glowing Novatech logo atop the building, she knew that this was only the beginning. Clara's transformation of Novatech didn't stop at the company's walls. Her story began to ripple outward, inspiring not just her employees but the broader business community. Industry leaders who had once dismissed her as a novelty now sought her advice. Invitations to speak at conferences and panels flooded her inbox. But Clara remained grounded. She hadn't forgotten where she came from, and she wasn't about to let success change her. One morning, as Clara arrived at the office, she was greeted by a crowd of reporters. They had been camped outside for days, hoping for a statement. Clara paused at the entrance, her sharp eyes scanning the sea of microphones and cameras. She knew she couldn't ignore them forever. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward. "Good morning," she said, her voice steady. "I'll take a few questions, but then I have a company to run." The reporters erupted, shouting over one another. "Clara, how does it feel to be the first female CEO of Novatech?" One asked. "What's your secret to turning the company around?" Another demanded. Clara held up a hand, silencing them. "I'm not here to talk about me," she said firmly. "I'm here to talk about Novatech. This company isn't about one person. It's about the incredible team of people who work here every day, striving to make a difference. As for being the first female CEO, I hope I'm not the last. Talent doesn't have a gender, and neither does leadership." Her words struck a chord, and the crowd quieted. One reporter, a young woman with determined eyes, stepped forward. "Clara, you've become a symbol of hope for so many people. What advice would you give to someone who feels overlooked or underestimated?" Clara smiled, her expression softening. "Don't let anyone else define your worth. If you believe in yourself and your abilities, nothing can stop you. And remember, success isn't about climbing over others. It's about lifting them up with you." The reporters erupted into applause, but Clara didn't linger. She had work to do. Inside the building, the atmosphere was electric. Employees moved with purpose, their energy palpable. Clara's leadership had ignited a spark, and it was spreading. She made her way to the R&D department, where a team was working on a revolutionary new project, an AI-powered platform designed to make technology more accessible to underserved communities. Clara had championed the project from the start, seeing it as a way to give back. She believed that technology should be a tool for empowerment, not exclusion. As she entered the lab, the team looked up, their faces lighting up with excitement. "How's it going?" Clara asked, pulling up a chair. "We're making progress," said Priya, the lead engineer, "but we've hit a few snags with the user interface. We want it to be intuitive, but it's proving more challenging than we anticipated." Clara nodded thoughtfully. "What if we brought in some outside perspectives? People from the communities we're trying to serve. They're the experts on their own needs." The team exchanged glances, intrigued by the idea. "That could work," Priya said. "But how do we find them?" Clara smiled. "Leave that to me." True to her word, Clara reached out to local organizations and community leaders, inviting them to collaborate with Novatech. The response was overwhelming. People from all walks of life, students, teachers, small business owners, came forward, eager to contribute. Their insights proved invaluable, and the project began to take shape in ways no one had anticipated. Meanwhile, Clara's relationship with David continued to evolve. What had started as a tense alliance had grown into a genuine partnership. David had come to respect Clara's vision and leadership, and he became one of her most vocal supporters. Together, they worked to ensure that Novatech's financial strategies aligned with its mission of innovation and inclusivity. But not everyone was on board. A faction of the board, led by a longtime member named Richard Grayson, remained skeptical of Clara's unconventional approach. They saw her focus on social impact as a distraction from the bottom line. Richard, in particular, was vocal about his concerns. "We're a tech company, not a charity," he said during a board meeting. "These projects are bleeding money, and I don't see the return on investment." Clara met his gaze, unflinching. "Richard, I understand your concerns, but we're not just building products, we're building a legacy. If we want Novatech to thrive in the long term, we need to think beyond quarterly profits. We need to think about the future." The room was silent as the board members considered her words. Finally, Richard leaned back in his chair, his expression unreadable. I hope you're right, Clara. For all our sakes. As the months passed, Clara's vision began to bear fruit. The AI platform launched to widespread acclaim, earning Novatech accolades for its innovation and social impact. The company's stock continued to rise, and employee satisfaction reached an all-time high. Clara had proven that doing good and doing well weren't mutually exclusive. But for Clara, the true measure of success wasn't in the numbers. It was in the stories she heard. Stories of students who used the platform to learn coding, of small business owners who expanded their reach, of communities that felt seen and heard for the first time. These were the moments that fueled her, that reminded her why she had taken on this role in the first place. One evening, as Clara was preparing to leave the office, she received a visitor. It was Marcus, the young programmer from the IT department. He looked nervous but determined. Clara, can I talk to you for a minute? He asked. Of course, she said, gesturing to a chair. What's on your mind? Marcus took a deep breath. I just wanted to say thank you for believing in me, for giving me a chance. I never thought I'd be working on something this important. You've changed my life. Clara smiled, her eyes warm. Marcus, you changed your own life. I just gave you the opportunity. Remember, you have the power to make a difference. Not just here, but in the world. Don't ever forget that. As Marcus left, Clara sat back in her chair, reflecting on how far she had come. From cleaning offices to leading a company, her journey had been anything but ordinary. But she knew that her work was far from over. There were still challenges to face, barriers to break, and lives to touch. And as she looked out at the city skyline, illuminated by the glow of Novatech's logo, Clara felt a sense of quiet determination. She had proven that greatness could come from the most unexpected places. And now she was ready to take on whatever came next. Clara's journey was far from over, but the foundation she had built at Novatech was unshakable. The company had become a beacon of innovation and social responsibility, a testament to her belief that businesses could and should be a force for good. Yet, as the months turned into years, Clara began to feel the weight of her responsibilities. The long hours, the constant pressure, the endless decisions, it was taking its toll. One evening, as she sat in her office, staring at a stack of reports, Clara realized something had to change. She couldn't keep carrying the weight of the entire company on her shoulders. It was time to empower others to lead, to step back and trust the team she had built. But stepping back didn't mean stepping away. Clara had a new vision, one that would take her beyond the walls of Novatech. She called a meeting with her closest advisors, including David and Priya. I've been thinking, she began, her voice calm but resolute. Novatech is in a strong place now, but there's still so much more we can do. I want to launch a foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to bridging the digital divide and empowering underserved communities. But I can't do it alone. I need your help. The room was silent as her words sank in. David was the first to speak. Clara, this is ambitious, but if anyone can pull it off, it's you. What do you need from us? Clara smiled. I need you to take the reins here at Novatech. I'll still be involved, but I want to focus my energy on this new venture. Together, we can create something truly transformative. The team agreed, and plans for the Clara Mitchell Foundation began to take shape. The foundation would provide resources, training, and access to technology for communities that had been left behind. It was a bold vision, but Clara had never been one to shy away from a challenge. As news of the foundation spread, the response was overwhelming. Donations poured in from individuals and organizations inspired by Clara's story. Volunteers signed up to help, and partnerships were formed with schools, nonprofits, and governments around the world. Clara's dream was becoming a reality. But even as she threw herself into this new chapter, Clara never forgot where she came from. She made a point of visiting the communities the foundation served, listening to their stories and learning from their experiences. These visits reminded her why she had started this journey in the first place. Not for fame or recognition, but to make a difference. One day, Clara returned to Novatech for a special event. The company was celebrating its 10th anniversary under her leadership, and the atmosphere was electric. Employees, investors, and partners gathered in the atrium, their faces filled with pride and gratitude. Clara stood at the podium, looking out at the crowd. 10 years ago, she began, I stood in this building as a cleaning lady. I never imagined I'd be standing here today as your CEO. But this isn't my story, it's ours. Together, we've proven that anything is possible when we believe in ourselves and each other. The crowd erupted into applause, But Clara wasn't finished. Today, I'm here to announce that I'll be stepping down as CEO of Novatech. But this isn't an ending. It's a new beginning. I'll be focusing my efforts on the Clara Mitchell Foundation, and I'm confident that Novatech will continue to thrive under the leadership of David Hartman and Priya Patel. The room was stunned, but the shock quickly gave way to admiration. Clara had always led by example, and now she was showing them the power of letting go, of trusting others to carry the torch. As the event wound down, Clara found herself surrounded by well-wishers. Employees hugged her, thanking her for her leadership. Investors shook her hand, praising her vision. But it was Marcus, now a senior engineer, who brought tears to her eyes. "Clara," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "you changed my life, and now you're changing the world." "Thank you." Clara smiled, her heart full. "No, Marcus. Thank you. You're proof that the future is bright." As she left the building that night, Clara felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in years. She had come full circle, from cleaning offices to leading a company to launching a foundation that would touch countless lives. Her journey had been anything but ordinary, but it was hers, and it was far from over. The city skyline glittered in the distance, a reminder of the endless possibilities that lay ahead. Clara took a deep breath, her eyes fixed on the horizon. She had proven that greatness could come from the most unexpected places. And now she was ready to write the next chapter. What an incredible journey, right? Clara's story is a powerful reminder that leadership isn't about titles or where you start. It's about vision, resilience, and the courage to challenge the status quo. Her transformation from cleaning lady to CEO, and then to founder of a life-changing foundation, shows us that no dream is too big if you're willing to fight for it. But what do you think? Did Clara's story inspire you? What lessons did you take away from her journey? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed the story, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more inspiring tales like this one. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Together, let's celebrate the power of perseverance and the extraordinary potential within us all. See you in the next video.